Chapter 1. The Lonely Man and His Past. Daniel sat alone in his small cafe. He served people every day. He smiled when they came. He smiled when they left. But when the cafe was quiet, he did not smile. Inside his heart, there was pain. He carried a story no one knew. He poured coffee for an old man. "Thank you, Daniel," the man said. Daniel nodded. He said, "You are welcome." His voice was calm, but his eyes looked far away. He was not looking at the cafe. He was looking at his memories. At night, he closed the cafe. He sat near the piano. His hand touched the keys, but he did not play. He whispered, "Anna, do you remember me?" His eyes were wet. Anna was the woman he once loved. Many years ago, Daniel was young. He met Anna in another city. She laughed when she spoke. She touched his hand and said, "Daniel, we will always be together." He believed her. He thought love was forever, but life broke his dream. One day, Anna left without a word. He waited for her. He wrote letters, but no answer came. His heart broke. He told himself, "I will not love again." That was the start of his lonely life. He opened a cafe and tried to forget. People saw him as strong. They said, "Daniel is a good man. He helps everyone." But no one knew he was empty inside. Every night he sat by the piano. He remembered Anna's face. He remembered her voice. His friend Mark once said, "Daniel, you should marry. You should not stay alone." Daniel smiled and replied, "I have work. I do not need more." Mark looked at him. "That is not true, Daniel. You need someone to share your heart." Daniel laughed, but inside he knew his friend was right. One evening, a group of young people came. They asked Daniel, "Play us a song." Daniel said softly, "Not tonight." They laughed and left. Daniel touched the piano again. He whispered, "This song belongs to Anna." He remembered the day they promised each other. Anna had held his hand and said, "No matter what happens, I will not leave you." But she had left. The promise broke like glass. Daniel still felt the pain. Sometimes he saw couples in the cafe. They sat close and spoke softly. Daniel gave them coffee and smiled. But when they laughed together, he turned away. He thought, "I once had this. Now it is gone." One rainy night, Daniel sat alone. He spoke to himself. Why did she leave? Did she love someone else? Did she forget me? He closed his eyes. He wanted answers, but no answers came. Only silence. Years passed. Daniel became older. His hair turned gray, but the pain stayed the same. People thought he was cold, but inside he was only tired. He wanted peace. Then one day, he heard a sound. The cafe door opened. A woman stepped inside. Daniel looked up. His heart jumped. For a moment, he thought it was Anna. He blinked. No, it was not Anna. But the woman's face carried something familiar. The woman looked at him and smiled. Daniel's hands shook. He asked himself, "Why does she look at me like that? Who is she?" The woman walked slowly to the counter. She said, "1 coffee, please." Daniel gave her the cup. Their eyes met. The woman did not look away. Daniel felt his chest grow heavy. That night, Daniel could not sleep. He thought about the woman. He thought about Anna. His heart whispered, "Is this the past coming back? Or is it something new?" Daniel sat by the piano. His fingers touched the keys. For the first time in years, he played a soft tune. The cafe was empty, but he felt someone listening. He said to himself, "Maybe my story is not finished. Maybe something is waiting for me." His eyes were bright again. He did not know why, but he felt it. The past was not gone. It was walking back into his life. And Daniel asked himself, what will happen now? Chapter 2. The Stranger in the Cafe. Daniel opened his cafe early that morning. He placed the cups on the table and made fresh coffee. His heart still felt heavy after last night. He could not forget the woman who had walked in. He told himself, maybe she will not return. Maybe it was only once. But deep inside, he wanted to see her again. He wanted to know who she was. The door opened, and Daniel looked up quickly. His hands almost dropped the cup. It was her, the same woman from last night. She wore a simple dress. Her smile was soft, but her eyes were strong. She came to the counter and said, "1 coffee, please." Her voice was calm. Daniel poured the coffee and gave her the cup. Their eyes met again. He felt something inside. It was not fear. It was not pain. It was something new. The woman sat near the window and drank slowly. Daniel watched her, but not openly. He cleaned the counter and moved cups, but his eyes kept going back to her. Then Mark entered the cafe. He was Daniel's old friend. "Good morning, Daniel," Mark said. Daniel nodded. Mark looked around, and his eyes stopped at the woman. "Who is she?" Mark asked. Daniel shook his head. "I don't know. She came last night, too." Mark smiled. "She looks kind. Go and talk to her." Daniel frowned and replied, "No, I cannot. She is only a customer." Mark laughed. "Daniel, you have served many people, but this one is different. I can see it in your face." Daniel did not answer, but his heart knew Mark was right. He wanted to speak to her. He wanted to ask her name, yet fear held him back. The woman finished her coffee and stood up. She walked to the counter again and said, "Thank you." Daniel finally spoke more than one word. "You are welcome," he said softly. Then he added, "Will you come again?" The woman looked at him for a moment, smiled and said, "Maybe." Then she left. Daniel's hands shook and his heart beat fast. He whispered to himself, "Why do I feel this way? Why do her eyes look like they know me?" That night he could not sleep. He thought of her smile and her voice. He asked himself, is she only a stranger? Or is she part of my story? The next morning, Daniel opened the cafe with hope. The sun was bright, and he looked at the door many times. At last the door opened again. It was her. This time she walked slowly to the counter. Daniel said, Good morning? She nodded and replied, Good morning. He asked carefully, What is your name? The woman looked at him with deep eyes and said, Lisa. Daniel repeated the name, Lisa. The sound felt warm on his lips. She smiled and said, Yes, Lisa. Mark was sitting at a table and he watched them. Later he whispered to Daniel, Now you know her name. The story is starting. Daniel shook his head. It is nothing. She will drink her coffee and go. But his heart did not believe his words. Lisa came again the next day, and the day after that. Every time she sat at the same place, every time she ordered the same coffee, and every time she looked at Daniel with those same eyes. One evening, when the cafe was almost empty, Daniel walked to her table. He asked, Do you like music? Lisa looked at the piano and said, Yes. Do you play? Daniel touched the piano keys and said, Not often, but once I played for someone I loved. Lisa did not speak. She looked at him, waiting. Daniel whispered, Her name was Anna. Lisa lowered her eyes and said softly, I had someone too, but I lost him. Daniel felt his chest tighten. Two strangers, two past stories, two broken hearts. He wanted to ask more, but he stopped. It was too soon. Lisa stood up and said, Thank you for the coffee. Daniel nodded. His eyes followed her as she left. When the door closed, Daniel sat down and his hands touched the piano. He whispered, Lisa, who are you? Why do you make me remember my past? The cafe was quiet again, but Daniel's heart was not quiet. For the first time in many years, it was awake. And he asked himself, What will happen when I learn her secret? Chapter 3. A Hidden Truth. Lisa came again the next morning. Daniel was already waiting in the cafe. He tried to act calm, but his heart was restless. She walked to the counter and ordered her coffee as always. This time Daniel spoke first. How are you today, Lisa? She looked at him with a quiet smile and said, I am fine. And you? Daniel answered, I am better now. She looked at him for a moment and then carried her cup to the same table by the window. Daniel wanted to go to her, but he stopped himself. He told his mind, She is only a customer. Yet his heart said, She is more than that. Mark entered and saw the same look on Daniel's face. He whispered, Daniel, you cannot hide it. Talk to her. You both are carrying something. Daniel frowned but said nothing. After a few minutes, he finally gathered courage and walked to Lisa's table. Do you come here every day because of the coffee? Daniel asked. Lisa smiled and replied, The coffee is good, but maybe there is another reason. Daniel sat down across from her. For a moment they were silent. Then Lisa spoke softly. You said yesterday that you loved someone once. Her name was Anna, right? Daniel nodded. Yes, I loved her, but she left. She never told me why. I waited for her, but she never came back. His voice grew low. Since then, I stayed alone. Lisa looked down at her cup. Her hand shook a little. I also loved someone, she said. He was brave and kind. But life was cruel. I lost him. He promised he would come back to me, but he never did. I searched for him, but I could not find him again. Daniel looked at her with surprise. He felt the same pain in her words that lived inside his own heart. Daniel asked carefully, "Did you ever know why he did not return?" Lisa's eyes filled with tears, but she controlled herself. "No, I never knew. Maybe it was his choice. Maybe fate decided it. But every day I still ask, why did he leave me?" Daniel's chest grew heavy. He understood her pain because it was his pain too. For years he had asked the same question about Anna. They sat together in silence for a while. The cafe was quiet, but in that quietness, their hearts spoke. Daniel finally said, "Two people, two promises, both broken. We are strangers, but our stories are the same." Lisa looked at him and said, "Maybe that is why I come here. I feel something familiar in you." Mark came to their table and looked at both of them. "I think the two of you are not strangers anymore," he said gently. Daniel looked at Lisa. She did not disagree. She only smiled, a smile that hid many secrets. That evening, when the cafe closed, Daniel sat at the piano again. He touched the keys and thought of Lisa's words. He whispered, "She lost someone too. But why do I feel she hides more than she tells?" He began to play a soft tune, but his heart was not at peace. He asked himself, what truth is she hiding? And when will she share it with me? Chapter 4. The Song They Remembered. Lisa came to the cafe again. Daniel was waiting for her now, though he never said it aloud. When she entered, the air around him changed. He greeted her softly, and she smiled back as if she was already part of the place. She ordered her usual coffee and went to sit by the window. Daniel followed her with his eyes, but this time he did not stop himself. He walked to her table and asked if he could sit. She nodded. For a moment they were silent. Then Lisa looked at the piano. "You always sit near it at night," she said. "Why don't you play during the day?" Daniel lowered his eyes. "I used to play long ago, but I stopped when Anna left. The piano became silent, just like my life." Lisa listened carefully. She touched the edge of her cup and spoke softly. "I know that silence. When I lost someone, music left me too. But sometimes I hear a song in my dreams, a song I cannot forget." Daniel leaned closer. "What song?" Lisa looked at him with surprise. "It is simple, just a soft tune. I do not know its name, but when I hear it in my heart, I feel both pain and comfort." Daniel's eyes widened. He whispered, "I know that song." Lisa froze. "How can you know? I never told it to anyone." Daniel stood up and walked to the piano. He pressed the keys slowly. A soft, familiar melody filled the room. Lisa covered her mouth with her hand. Her eyes filled with tears. "Yes," she whispered. "That is the song." Daniel stopped playing and looked at her. "Anna loved this tune. I played it for her many times. It was ours. How can you know it too?" Lisa's face grew pale. She took a deep breath and said, "I heard it years ago, from the man I loved. He used to play it for me. I thought it belonged only to us." Daniel's hands shook on the piano. His heart beat hard. "This cannot be," he whispered. "The same song for you and for me? How is it possible?" Lisa stood and walked slowly toward him. Her voice was low. "It means our lives are more connected than he thought. There is a hidden truth between us, Daniel, but I am not ready to speak it yet." The cafe was silent, except for the echo of the melody. Mark, who had been sitting quietly at a corner table, looked at both of them with surprise. "Daniel, you never played for anyone, but today you played. That means something." Daniel turned his face away. "It means nothing," he said, but his voice betrayed him. His heart was not calm. Lisa touched the piano gently. She whispered, "This song is not only music, it is memory. It carries love, loss, and promises. It carries both our pasts." Daniel looked at her, and for the first time he felt he was standing close to the secret she carried. But she stepped back and smiled sadly. "Not today, Daniel. One day I will tell you. But not today." When she left the cafe that evening, Daniel sat by the piano again. He replayed the melody with trembling fingers. His thoughts were restless. The same song. Anna's song. Lisa's song. What does it mean? He pressed the keys harder, and the sound filled the room. He closed his eyes and saw Anna's face. Then he opened them and saw Lisa's smile in his memory. Two women, two stories, but one song. Daniel whispered to himself, "Life is strange. Maybe the truth is already here, waiting. Maybe the song is the key." He looked at the door where Lisa had gone out and asked in his heart, "When will she tell me everything?" The cafe was silent again, but Daniel knew silence would not last. Something was coming, and the song had opened the door. Chapter 5. The Choice. Daniel opened the cafe early, but his heart was not calm. The song he played yesterday still echoed inside him. He could not forget Lisa's face when she heard it. It was the same song he once played for Anna, yet Lisa also knew it. He asked himself again and again, why is this happening? What connects us? He wanted answers, but he also felt fear. If he learned the truth, could he carry it? When Lisa came in, Daniel's hands trembled. She greeted him as usual, and he gave her coffee. For a while they sat in silence. Then Lisa spoke softly. "Daniel, you wonder why the song is mine too. I can see it in your eyes. You want to know everything, but sometimes the truth hurts more than silence." Daniel looked at her and replied, "I have lived with silence for many years. It gave me nothing. Maybe the truth will give me peace." Lisa lowered her eyes. She whispered, "And if the truth breaks you again?" Daniel's voice was steady. "I am already broken, but I can still choose. I can choose to face the pain, or I can choose to hide. I am tired of hiding." Lisa touched her cup with shaking hands. "I am afraid too, Daniel. My life has been heavy. I carry memories that do not leave me. I want to share them, but I do not know if I can trust again. Mark entered the cafe and felt the heavy air between them. He looked at Daniel and said, "You are not yourself these days. You look alive but worried. What is happening?" Daniel gave him a small smile. "Mark, life is asking me to choose. I do not know if I am ready." Mark placed his hand on Daniel's shoulder. "If you do not choose, you will stay in the same pain forever. Sometimes you must risk the heart to heal it." Daniel nodded but did not answer. Later, when the cafe was quiet, Daniel walked to Lisa's table. He said, "Lisa, I do not know your full story, but I know you hide something. I do not ask you to tell me today. I only ask you to trust me one day." Lisa looked into his eyes for a long moment. Then she said, "Trust is not easy, Daniel, but maybe I will try." Her voice was soft, but her eyes showed a light he had not seen before. That night, Daniel sat at the piano again. He played the same song slowly. He whispered, "Anna, I once chose you. You left me. Now I must choose again. Should I open my heart to Lisa? Or should I close it forever?" The sound of the piano filled the empty cafe. Daniel closed his eyes and saw two paths. One path was silence and safety. The other was risk and hope. He knew he could not walk both. The next morning, Daniel looked at himself in the mirror. He said quietly, "You must decide. Do not wait too long." When Lisa entered the cafe, he greeted her warmly. "Good morning, Lisa," he said. She looked surprised at his bright voice. She smiled and replied, "Good morning." They sat together, and Daniel asked, "Will you come tonight when the cafe is closed? I want to play the song for you again." Lisa hesitated, but then said, "Yes, I will come." That evening the cafe was empty. Lisa sat near the piano while Daniel played. The tune was soft, but strong. Lisa listened with closed eyes. Tears rolled down her face. When the song ended, Daniel looked at her and said, "Lisa, I must know. Do I choose to walk toward you, or do I choose to stay alone?" Lisa wiped her tears and whispered, "Daniel, I am not ready to answer, but I will not run away. Stay near me. That is all I ask." Daniel felt both pain and relief. She did not promise him love. She did not promise answers, but she promised not to leave. That was more than silence had ever given him. He said gently, "Then I will wait. But my heart has chosen. I will not hide anymore." As Lisa left that night, Daniel sat alone at the piano once more. He whispered to himself, "The choice is made. I have opened the door. Now I must see where this road will take me." His fingers touched the keys again, but his heart was already ahead, waiting for the next truth. Chapter 6. The storm arrives. Daniel's cafe had become more than a place of coffee. It was now the center of his days, because Lisa was there. She came often, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the evening. They spoke little, but every word seemed to carry weight. The song still lived between them, like a secret bridge. But Daniel felt something else growing too. It was not only love or hope. It was also danger. One night, as Daniel was closing the cafe, a man entered. His steps were heavy, his eyes sharp. Daniel frowned and asked, "We are closed." The man ignored his words. He looked around, then leaned on the counter. "A woman comes here often. Her name is Lisa," he said. Daniel's heart jumped, but his face stayed calm. "Many people come here," he replied. The man's lips curved into a cold smile. "Do not lie. I have seen her walk through this door." Daniel clenched his fists under the counter. "What do you want with her?" The man's voice grew hard. "She owes me something. She cannot run forever. If you see her, tell her she cannot hide." Without waiting for an answer, he turned and walked out. The door closed, but the cafe felt darker than before. When Lisa came the next morning, Daniel looked at her closely. Her smile was there, but her eyes carried fear. He asked quietly, "Lisa, someone came last night. He asked for you." She froze, the cup shaking in her hand. She whispered, "What did he say?" Daniel repeated the words. Her face turned pale. She looked down and said, "I knew the past would find me. I thought I had escaped, but I was wrong." Daniel moved closer. "Who is he? Why is he after you?" Lisa shook her head. "Not now, Daniel. I cannot speak of it yet. But you must be careful. If you stand near me, you may also be in danger." Daniel held her eyes firmly. "I do not care. I will not let you face this alone." Mark came in at that moment and noticed the tension. "What is happening?" he asked. Daniel explained quickly. Mark frowned. "Daniel, this is serious, and you cannot fight shadows. If danger is here, you must prepare." Daniel nodded, but his heart was firm. He had already made his choice in silence. He would stand by Lisa no matter what. That evening, Daniel closed the cafe early. He asked Lisa to stay. They sat near the piano. Lisa whispered, "I never wanted to bring trouble to your life, but now it is here." Daniel touched the piano keys, but he did not play. "Lisa," he said, "I lived many years in emptiness. Now I have a reason to live again. I will not run. If there is a storm, I will face it with you." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "You do not know what you are saying. He is dangerous. He will not stop." Daniel's voice grew steady. "Then he will meet me. I am not afraid anymore." Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. Rain began to fall on the windows. Lisa looked at the storm and whispered, "It has begun." Daniel placed his hand over hers and said, "Yes, the storm has arrived, but we will not break." That night the cafe was filled with the sound of rain, but inside, the silence was louder. Both Daniel and Lisa knew that their pasts had followed them. The song, the love, the secrets, all of it now stood in the middle of a storm. And Daniel asked himself, "Can I really protect her? Or will the storm take us both?" Chapter 7. Between Fear and Hope. The cafe felt different after that night. Daniel kept watching the door, half expecting the strange man to return. Every time it opened, his heart jumped. Lisa also looked nervous, though she tried to hide it behind her soft smile. She spoke little, and when she did, her voice carried a shadow. Daniel wanted to ease her pain, but he knew he could not force her. She would speak when she was ready. One afternoon, Lisa sat across from him, her eyes on the piano. "Daniel," she whispered, "the man who came here is from my past. I thought I had escaped, but he has found me again. He was once close to me. He helped me, but later he tried to control my life. I left everything behind to be free." She took a deep breath and continued, "I never told you because I wanted this place to be my safe ground. I did not want the storm to enter here." Daniel listened without breaking her words. When she finished, he said, "You cannot carry this alone anymore. I told you before, I will stand with you. If danger comes, it comes for us both." "I am not afraid." Lisa shook her head. "You may not be afraid, but I am. Not only for myself. Now I am afraid for you too. I don't want you to suffer because of me." Daniel reached across the table and held her hand. "Lisa, I have lived with emptiness for too long. Pain is not new to me. But for you, I am ready to fight again." That evening, Mark joined them. Lisa told him part of her story. Mark listened carefully and then said, "Lisa, the past can chase us, but it cannot define us unless we let it. The man may try to harm you, but he is only a shadow. Shadows vanish when you face them with light. Daniel has chosen to stand with you. Let him." Lisa gave a weak smile. "It is hard to trust, Mark. I trusted once and it broke me. How do I know this time will be different?" Daniel's voice was firm. "Because this time you are not alone. We are two, not one. Whatever comes, we will face it together." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "You speak with courage, Daniel. I want to believe you. I want to believe that two broken hearts can make one strong heart. But my fear is strong too." Daniel held her gaze. "Fear is real, but hope is stronger. Hope is what brought you here. Hope is what made you listen to the song. Do not let fear take it away." That night, after Lisa left, Daniel sat at the piano with Mark. "She still fears him," Daniel said. "Her past is heavy." Mark nodded. "But notice this. She spoke to you today. She shared part of her truth. That means trust is growing. Storms are not only about fear. They are also about change." Daniel looked at his hands on the keys. "I only pray I am strong enough to protect her when the time comes." Mark replied, "You will be, Daniel, because you are not the same man you were years ago. You have something worth fighting for now." The next morning, Lisa returned. She looked tired, as if she had not slept. She sat quietly until Daniel placed her coffee before her. Then she said, "Daniel, I want to tell you more. The man's name is Robert. Long ago I depended on him, but later I saw his true face. He wanted control, not love. When I broke free, he swore he would find me again. That is the truth I have been hiding. Daniel's face hardened. If he comes again, he will not take you. Not while I stand here. Lisa touched his hand gently. I am afraid, but when you speak like this, I feel safe. Maybe this is what hope feels like, Daniel whispered. Yes, Lisa. Between fear and hope, we must choose hope. It is the only way forward. She smiled faintly, and for the first time in many days, her eyes carried light. That night, Daniel played the soft tune once more. Lisa listened with closed eyes, her fear resting for a moment, and Daniel asked himself, can hope truly be stronger than fear? Or is this only the calm before the storm's final strike? Chapter 8. A New Beginning. The cafe was quiet in the early morning. Daniel sat near the piano, his hands resting on the keys but not playing. He thought about Lisa and all the words she had spoken. Her past was heavy, and Robert's shadow still stood near them. Yet something had changed. Lisa no longer carried her secret alone. She had shared it, and that act had tied their lives together. Daniel felt fear, but he also felt strength. For the first time in many years, he was not empty. When Lisa arrived, Daniel greeted her with a soft smile. She looked tired but calmer. I did not sleep well, she admitted, but my heart feels lighter. You know my truth now, and somehow it feels less heavy. Daniel nodded. That is because you are not carrying it alone anymore. 2 shoulders are stronger than one. Lisa touched her coffee and whispered, I never believed I would find a safe place again. But here, with you, I feel I can start breathing. Mark entered and joined them. He looked at both of them and said, I see change in your faces. Fear is still there, but it does not rule you anymore. That is the first step toward freedom. Lisa smiled faintly. It is not easy, but hope is growing. Daniel added, Hope will guide us. It is time to walk forward. Mark placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. Then make sure you do not turn back. The past has already taken enough. Do not give it more. Later that evening, Daniel closed the cafe early. He asked Lisa to stay. They sat near the piano, and Daniel began to play the soft tune again. But this time the melody felt different. It was not only a song of pain, it carried light, like a gentle promise. Lisa closed her eyes and let the notes cover her heart. When the song ended, she said softly, Daniel, when I hear you play, I feel that the past is far away. I feel that maybe tomorrow can be ours. Daniel looked at her with steady eyes. Lisa, we cannot change what happened before, but we can choose what happens now. I was broken, and so are you, but together we can heal. Let us begin again. Lisa's eyes filled with tears, but these were not tears of fear. They were tears of release. Yes, Daniel, she whispered. Let us begin again. The days that followed were not without shadows. Sometimes Lisa still looked over her shoulder, afraid Robert might appear. Sometimes Daniel still dreamed of Anna and woke with an ache. But each day, they found strength in each other. They spoke more, they laughed a little, and they shared silence without fear. The cafe was no longer a place of emptiness. It became a place of new life. One evening, when the cafe was full, Daniel played the piano for the first time in front of everyone. The customers stopped to listen. The melody was soft, gentle, and full of hope. Lisa stood near him, smiling. Mark clapped his hands and said, "This is the Daniel I always knew was inside. You are alive again." Daniel looked at Lisa and answered, "No, I am not alive alone. We are alive together." As the last note faded, Daniel felt a deep peace. The storm had passed. Fear was still part of their memory, but it no longer ruled their future. The choice was made. They had chosen hope. They had chosen each other. That night, as Lisa and Daniel locked the cafe doors, she whispered, "This is our beginning." Daniel smiled and replied, "Yes, Lisa, a new beginning." And in that moment, the song was no longer a reminder of loss. It was a promise of love, courage, and life.